In this live visual building series, we're going to begin building the first page of a two-page checkout. This two-page checkout is very common in supplement sites, and so this is what we're going to be building in this session, and then in the second session we're going to be building this second page. We're going to get started by first going to the TrueEnergy single page checkout and downloading that file. The CJSON file. I've already gone ahead and done that. Here I have a storefront, and it's basically got a stock hero theme, and we're going to begin customizing this. I'm actually going to create a copy of the template page template so that we can start creating some different headers and stuff without messing up the rest of the site. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the file manager, and I'm going to start by finding the stock template page, and here we go. And this template basically brings in the standard header. It brings in this page container so that each page has unique content. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, and that way we can mess with the header. So let's go ahead and check the box there, and I'm going to name this template slightly different. Okay, there's my new template. Now we'll go off to pages, and we're going to stub out some pages for this checkout. First one we'll call it our Broat landing page. We'll select our template. Oops, I accidentally named that wrong, but that's okay. Alright. And then I'm going to create a secondary page, and we'll get to the second one in the next video in the series. We'll just call that step 2 using the same template. Okay, let's go ahead and open this page, and we will go ahead and begin editing. We'll get to the header in a bit. Let's just take a look at the overall hierarchy inside this template. Alright, we have the breadcrumb container, and then we have all the rest. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and start off, and we'll go into the containers, and I'm just going to get rid of the breadcrumb container entirely. And let's see, we have some other junk data here, and we're left with just the page specific content. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Inside of our page container, we're going to start off and create a section. It's pretty much always what you're going to have inside of the section. And then let's go ahead and add our first row. We'll make that row 3 columns wide. So if we look here, column 1, column 2, and then column 3. Okay. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go back into the hierarchy, and I'm going to get rid of the default margin and padding using the 0 tool with the all option, so that these rows, this row has very tight columns. Okay, starting off in the first column, we're going to go ahead and add in an image, and we'll go ahead and go in here and select it. We're going to go ahead and upload an image here. There we go. Alright, let's see. Looks pretty good. Now we'll start building out the second column. And this one's going to go a headline, Oops, I was in the wrong spot. Let's get rid of that extra column. So 2 headlines, and then we're going to use an HTML block to cover some of that content. So headline, headline, HTML block, and then this will do with a row. When I'm visually building, I kind of like to stub out the grid first, and then go back and fill things in. All right. So our first headline here, we're going to make this H1. It's better for SEO to give your headlines the appropriate tags. All right. Let's see here. We're going to make it left aligned. Got our HTML in there. Let's go ahead and give it a text color. Pick up that. I already pasted it in uppercase, but it's worth noting that you can use the text transform to also achieve uppercase. And then let's go down into fonts. And in this case, we're going to scale up the text based upon which size. So we'll go 20, 22, 28, and I'll turn on fluid fonts as well, so that if we're in between those breakpoints, it'll be dynamically resizing. And let's choose a font weight of 500, which is pretty close to bold. Bold is 700, normal is 400. It's just kind of moving it up. Okay, let's go down to our next headline. And for this one, we're going to move in the text. Choose an H2 tag. Let's see. Left align. Let's go into our colors, and we got that yellow. We'll come back and, if we need to, push some margin and padding around. Let's go back into the hierarchy. Here's our HTML block, and since there's no content, it doesn't have any size to it. Now we could use the bullet list element for this, but we're going to get a little fancier with the styling using some scoped CSS. And so let's go ahead. I've extracted a little bit of scope CSS from the design already, and so we'll put this. We're going to have to upload this image in the back end for this to take effect. But we're just trying to match a particular look. So it's okay to use HTML if it's well formatted, and scope styles to achieve that. Let's go back into our back end, and we'll go to the file manager, and we will go ahead and upload the bullet icon. So I'm just going to upload that. Alright. Then down here, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do this with some text here and an image. Okay. Let's edit. Let's double click on the text here. Go into edit mode. Start my order. And then for the image icon, one thing you can do is you can just drag an image in, and you'll see that the image element lights up in red and it says drop images to upload. So I can just go ahead and drop that in and it'll upload, and there we have that. We still need to style this quite a bit. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put the background. This is a background image. This nice blue with a gradient, and so that's why we put this into a row, just to give us some place to attach the background image. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go ahead and upload a background image. Let's see here. Okay, now that the background is uploaded, we need to change its position. So let's see, we're going to do full width 100. Let's see here. We're going to go into the text and we're going to position this with a little bit of scope CSS. So that moved that over and made it 80%. And let's see here, let's take up its font size. We'll make it 32 pixels. Make it white. And we need to put some a little bit of margin. Let's see how that did. Close. They have a slightly different background setting. To stretch that, we'll have to get that. Let's go ahead and we're going to move that image over as well. We'll do position absolute with a little scope CSS. Well, that didn't work as I expected. Okay, let's go about this a little differently. try and do this with 2 columns. Zero things out. Move the text down. Grab that background image. And I'm going to put it on the row. Let's get rid of all that crazy CSS we had on there. Okay. I think we can do some negative margin and just pull this up. Like 20 pixels. And then we'll move this down with, let's see, scope. No, nothing scoped left in there. Oh, we did text instead of a block, that's why. So there we go. And of course you can always bump more pixels and stuff in the end, but we just want to get the gist of it. Okay, let's go ahead and build this out, and then we'll save and we'll do some polish. So in this row, let's see here, we're going to accomplish this with an image and just use a little scope CSS to move it out to the side, and then do a text block here, and then we'll move into we'll do 2 text blocks, and then we'll move into the checkout form, and so that should be pretty straightforward. So that's going to be my hierarchy for the 3rd column. So we're going to do an image, and then, oops, hold on a second, wrong spot. Let's do two text blocks, and then we're going to bring in the checkout form to accomplish all of this that we built in TrueEnergy. I'll show you how we do that in a bit. Alright, let's start with the image. Once again, I can just drag in and drop. Oops. Well, let's do it over here. There we go. Limited time offer, and then a little bit of see, let's set the max width, make sure that's good, that's fine. And then what we'll do is we'll use some scope CSS to move that over. There we go, you can see it popping over there already. And of course we're going to need to move this down as well, but that's okay, we'll move that in a bit. Okay, our text blocks. Get your order started. And then this one will say limited supply. Let's go ahead and set a background color. I've already grabbed some of these RGBA values. We'll get the text color of white. Good. Just put that in the middle. Kind of make this chunky looking with some padding. Fonts will bring it home. Once again, bold and 700 are basically the same thing. Okay. Let's find this green color real quick. Oops. Make a note of that real quick. 39, 176, 183. That's your RGB value. Alright, let's adjust this as well. And there's no, there's many different ways that you can build different layouts if you achieve the desired look with a certain layout. That's fine. Let's get rid of the default margin. Pull that up. Font size. "16 pixels, no problem." A little bit of padding. Let's give it, let's see what, 10 pixels on both sides. That's a little too chunky. Let's do 5 and 5. We'll get that look. Okay. Now we're going to get the box shadow, and the box shadow is best done on the column. So we're going to go into the hierarchy and go up to this column, and we can just we could probably get, I'm going to do with some scope CSS. I already have the values for that. It's just a simple box shadow. You can see it show up right there, so that everything we bring into this column is going to show up. we can go into this column here and we'll take advantage of our responsive padding. So for tablet and up, we can go ahead and start putting in some padding to push things down. Alright, and we'll test the responsive layout at the end. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Reload, and that image that I uploaded popped in. So we're quickly getting there. Alright, so at this point we're actually going to bring in the entire CJSON file from the True Energy checkout. So we're going to bring in that entire single page checkout, and it's going to appear down below. And the reason I'm going to do that is I've already designed a lot of these elements. I really want to be able to reuse them in this layout. So here we have in the True Energy checkout, we have this entire shipping section. So we're going to want to reuse this particular section of the checkout. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go up to this checkout form and I'm just going to start trimming down all the content that I don't want until I basically get down to the checkout form and this shipping row. Okay, I'm going to leave this button and this error modal because these are already wired up, and so at this point I can just take this and bring it up. So it's a big section, so I'm going to go ahead and cut. That's going to put it onto my clipboard. Come back into the hierarchy here and add below, and I can pick that checkout section off my clipboard, and we start to get the desired content. So we need to remove some of the headers, get it all down to white, and then get this button saying start my order and looking correctly. So let's go ahead and work through that process. Let's go ahead and get rid of this title. Actually, if we bring this row out just with drag and drop, and now we can get rid of all of this. We have checkout form, and then we have our content. We'll get rid of that background color. This is the delete color option. Okay, looking pretty good. There's a little bit of drop shadow, I think, on this column, or maybe on the row. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that box shadow from the other design. We already got that visual look covered. Okay. start my order. Let's go ahead and see here. Alright, we want it full width the entire time, because you can control the width of buttons responsively as well. Alright, let's adjust these colors. Already got some RGBA values. Set the hover color. Okay, so we should get a nice hover effect. Bump that font up. I think it's pretty good. Let's go ahead and get rid of this extra row that came in from the other design. And I think we're going to consolidate these fields a little bit. So we're going to go to a single name field. We're going to get rid of address line 2, and this design also drops the country. So let's make those manipulations as well. Okay. Just drag that up. We are going to okay, so we're going to just replace this with the full name. And we'll change this label to just say name. We'll get rid of this entire row. We'll get rid of the row with street address 2. Get rid of the row with country. Okay. Now the final thing we need to do is look at the plumbing for the checkout form. So this one is going to save, and then afterwards it's going to go to a URL. We can go back to our storefront pages, and we can see that the URL that we created is broat and then step 2, and that's where we're going to end up with. Get rid of the spaces that are in the copy and paste. So when this form is submitted, it's going to save and then go on to step 2. We can see that our error modal is still wired up properly, as well as our error bullet list, since we brought that in from our existing design. Let's go ahead and save and take a look at how things are behaving responsively. Not bad, just need a little bit of padding right here in that second column so that it's not quite so smushed. So let's go back into edit mode. Go to our second column here, and we can use the responsive padding. So we'll go ahead and say that in mobile mode we'll have 10 pixels, and tablet we'll keep it at 0. Okay, and then this image here for limited time offer, technically that's going to show off screen, but I'd like to be a little bit more explicit and say that this does not show in a mobile mode. Okay, that's nice to always have a little gutter to keep it off of the side there. You could spend more time bumping things around, but we should. Oh, we accidentally got rid of the email, or we didn't bring it in from the other design. So let's go ahead and put that back in the top spot. The easiest way to do this is we're going to duplicate. So now we have that part duplicated, and then we will replace, and then we'll change the label. There we go. And save. We can always do plenty with the header and the footer, but we're going to focus on just this section of the tutorial. We do have a background image that we need to drop in here. So the best spot for the background image is going to be on the section. And so let's think about this for a second, because the background image goes all the way, so we're going to need the section to go full page, and then we'll need to constrain some of the content. But if we look, the background is not going to be there in a responsive mode, and so the best way to go about that is going to be putting it on probably the section. Yeah. So we'll put a background image on the section using some Scope CSS. So let's take the section itself and we're going to change it to full page. Okay. And then let's take the row, set it to wide. No, need wider than that. Let's measure some of these elements over here to figure out how wide this design is. It's going to be 1440 as the max width. So we'll set it as a custom width, 1440 px. And so I've come in here and I've actually cleared out all these zeros in the margin to restore this row that's inside the section to the default. That causes it to auto center up. So gone ahead and made that change. So now we have the checkout form, the width we want, and the section going all the way across the page. I'm going to come into the file manager and I'm going to upload a background image. Okay, let's go ahead and bring in that background image. We have banner-top-2.png. And since we want this to only display on the larger form factor, we're going to use Scope CSS. We're going to use the medium and up. We're going to say background image URL banner-top.2 PNG, and then we're going to need to do the no repeat setting. Let's see. Let me look that up real quick. So we're going to do the background size cover option here, and that's going to cause the browser to stretch that out. So you can see here we have it nice and stretched out. Okay, that gives us page 1 of this sample checkout. Let's go ahead and go through and fill it out. And it's sent us on to step 2. And in our next video, we'll build out that page as well.